Thank you so much for the introduction. You hear me well? Good. Very nice to be with you this afternoon here. I know my topic is a little bit different from the medical thing, but it's homeopathy being applied to living beings. And that's how this whole story starts to be told. This is the title of my presentation, The Use of Homeopathy in Agriculture and its Plant Biostimulation Effect in Strawberry Cropping System. But in reality, we are talking about the duty that agriculture has to produce vitalized food. That's how the thing comes around. And as Stephen introduced me, I am an agronomist by background. And since 2013, I've been working with the diverse realities of agriculture in south of Brazil, north of Brazil, Argentina, Uruguay, and later on in my career in Europe. And it was by experience firsthand what was happening in the food industry and in the farming system that I said, hang on a second, things are a bit weird. There has to be some different way for us to produce our food. And so I decided that I have to look into different aspects of farming, and I learned about agroecology. And that's where I started to do my master's. And back there, I discovered in Santa Catarina State University, because I was looking to salutogenic approach, ways to promote health in agro ecosystem. And then I discovered that in my very own university, there was a laboratory of plant health and homeopathy. So I was very intrigued about that. And this laboratory is led by Dr. Pedro Boff. And this lab has gone through lots of things in these last 15 years, and they have over 42 students, postgraduate students from masters and PhDs. And that's how I joined this group. I first started to look into biological control, and then we started to use homeopathy as well to see how the plants respond to that. Long story shortly, I ended up with my PhD. And because I'm an agronomist, we have to look for important crops, like relevant crops for Brazilian farming industry. And strawberry is one of those. But let me tell you something. Strawberries, besides being delicious and beautiful and pleasant to eat, they are one of the most consumed of the fruits all around the globe. The production varies around 9.2 million tons every year, and the cultivation area is around 395,000 hectares worldwide. So it's a very important crop. And the production is just rising since 2013 because of the discovery of new varieties of strawberries that are adapted to different kind of climates and everything else. But there is a not so good story about our beloved strawberries. They are in fact one of the most contaminated crops by pesticide levels, to the point that it's becoming a health issue for the farmers and the workers that were working closely to the system, and for us consumers. So just so you can have an idea, the presence of pesticides that are not approved to the crop are there. They were identified. And also, comparing with other soft fruits, it can be the double of the level of the pesticide that it is like allowed. So it's a massive problem, really. And then we thought, well, I don't know if you heard about something called homeopathy. It's quite interesting. You should have a look on that. And we thought, well, maybe we can try to use homeopathy to see if we can promote like the resilience of this crop so we can avoid the use of these pesticides. And so we did. And did you know that Brazilian farmers have been training in homeopathy by the agency government? So they have been training, receiving a course of a 600 hours course, and they are training to use for themselves, of course, not practice, but they have just so they can have in their toolkit another option for them to manage the crops. And it's been very interesting, specifically in south part of Brazil. Within the 3 states of the south, there has been massive, over 10,000 farmers have been trained already in homeopathy so they can be used in their land. And we were also we were inspired actually to try to understand how the vitality manifestation happened, what are the perceptions of these farmers related to the benefits that homeopathy has been causing in the field. And this is strongly influenced by the definitions of vitality from the biodynamic movement, where vitality is also expressed in feelings, intuitions, love, strength, sensitivity, humanity. So a very complex array of feelings and emotions that engage in the daily reality. And as you can see with this single photo, vitality is something that you can feel, observe. So my research was basically, we combined natural and social science, and that's why Steven is a double thing, because I come from the natural sciences, and then I came to UK to learn the social sciences. And we were interested into the agricultural practice, but as well as the human experience on doing that kind of research. And so all of these positivist grounded theory, phenomenology, and heuristic inquiry guided our research. And so basically we have a combination of quantitative data and qualitative data, right? And here in the green bar you can see are the methods that we use to try to grasp this understanding of the thing. And today in my contribution, I will be specifically focusing on the controlled trials because it's too much to talk. So basically, we did what we call the data triangulation. And these results are published in my thesis now, and the trials are about to be published soon in the Journal of Agroecology and Sustainable Farming Systems, so that will be available very soon for you as well. So you see, selecting homeopathic preparations for plants is kind of tricky because we can't really talk that much with plants. So that's kind of the challenge, selecting the homeopathic preparations and the potency, and this is still an ongoing thing, and it's a very exciting field to be developed because the use of homeopathy in agriculture is actually responsible for homeopathy to be thriving in Brazil. That's one of the reasons, because the popular appropriation of the knowledge. So we selected these remedies here, all of them in the 12 potency age. These preparations were selected based in previous results from our labs. That was how we came to these preparations. And we have the positive and the negative control. The positive control being distilled water, and the negative control, distilled water dynamized. Well, did you remember that I showed that we did a systematic review? And that systematic review was to ask, have vitality been looked into agricultural research? And we discovered that yes, but for morphophysiological parameters in agriculture. And those parameters were the ones that we brought to analyze in our experiments. So we did assessments on the flower and leaves development, the content of chlorophyll of these plants, the stolon production, which has to do with the physiological aspect, the quality of the fruit, so we assessed the pulp firmness, the color, and of course, the sugar acidity ratio of these fruits. And on top of that, we have also assessed the pathosystem disease for the main pest and disease for the crop, which is the Tetranicus urticae, which is the red mite, and Mycosferella, which is a fungi very, very aggressive to the leaves. We also did some really cool analysis related to the structure of these plants. So we were able to measure the canopy and the structure of the roots development of these plants, as well as the crown parameter, which is very important to understand how well and how vigorous the plants are. And of course, the crop production. Well, I'm going to go faster to the table so you can have a better time for us to have some questions. But the thing is, in agricultural experiments, usually we need 2 years of experiments to have robust results, and that's what we did. So we could see that the preparations of kali, sulfur, and phosphorus in the 2 years were the most positive ones. They induced more production in the plants. And these are two categories. Industry fruits means that there are fruits that are smaller than 12 grams, and fresh market fruits are fruits that are bigger than 12 grams. And this is very important for farmers because that's where their income comes from, because the better quality fruit represents more money for them, whereas the smaller fruits go to industry, so frozen fruits. We were also able to see that the same preparations added Silicia terra were also the preparations who actually promoted plant growth. And that was repeated again in the next year of the results of the experiments. By our grateful surprise, for the morphophysiological structure, which is the production of stolons and all of that I showed to you, it was the same preparations, actually, sulfur mainly and phosphorus, the ones that actually yielded positive results again. And that was the same thing for, this was a different result that we got. That was for the architecture and development of the root system, which was interesting because Calcarea has this connotation of like underground and kind of clustering, isn't it? So it was interesting to see that that was the positive result as well. This was a little bit confusing, but they were all different to the controls, but they have to bring anyway because that's just what data are. We have to present what they are. And we couldn't see any difference in the fruit quality parameter. That was the only one that we couldn't really see any difference. So regarding the development of the plants and the structure of the plants, we could see differences. And this was very special as well. It was very interesting because in the sense of the plant disease incidence and severity, we also got positive results with sulfur and silicia terra. And in the second year, the dynamized water and the control were the ones that have the more disease. So it was interesting as well to observe that. This summarizes better those bunch of tables. So we could see that phosphorus, sulfur, and kali carbonium increased the yield of the plants. Phosphorus, sulfur, and kali and calcareum promoted plant vigor when compared to the control. Sulfur and phosphorus, the plants that were treated with sulfur and phosphorus were less affected by this pathosystem disease. And there were no, as I mentioned before, no robust results related to the fruit quality. What can we do further? Well, we can test the best results, the best homeopathic preparation in field conditions because our experiments were like highly controlled in terms of humidity, light, and all of that in the greenhouses. So testing them in the field would give us another parameter because, you know, in the field is a different story, isn't it? So that's something for us to develop. We also wanted to try next the homeopathic preparation, the ones that we got the best results with different crops. It's a good way to start, as we have something good to start. So test them in different crops. And of course, as I mentioned in the beginning of my talk, develop like further studies to test the repertorization methods. I don't have the time to get in that, but like I interviewed 120 farmers from 9 different countries to ask them, how are you selecting the remedies? Which remedies are you using? What potencies are you doing? So that's a whole different chapter that I will be happy to make available for our community whenever you want to have a look on that. So that's kind of the next step. How can we actually keep deriving homeopathy to the agroecosystem? And I think I'm on time. That's it. Yeah, so thank you very much, and I hope I didn't go too fast, but it was a lot to share. Thank you.